Good afternoon. Welcome to the CENTCOM CHIPS Opportunity webinar held by GDI Consulting. My name is Cal, and I am your artificial intelligence host today. With me is Ab Vand, VP for Capture at GDI Consulting and a subject matter expert on these opportunities. Ab has over 30 years of experience in capture and proposal management. He is considered an expert in self-scoring as well as traditional proposal and capture efforts. Ab has managed over 1,000 successful capture and proposal efforts and is a regular contributor to Washington Technology and other online GovCon magazines. He has also held numerous training webinars for various APMP chapters and APEX, previously PTAC, offices throughout the U.S. Before starting, there are a few housekeeping notes I would like to mention. First, this webinar is being recorded and a link to the recording will be sent to you within 24 hours. Second, we will hold a Q&A session at the end. You can send your questions during the webinar by the chat system to the right of your window and Ab will address them at the end. Third, you can download this presentation by clicking on the link under File on the right-hand side panel on your window. We highly recommend you download the slide deck so that you can always refer back to it. So let's see what this webinar covers. We will first have a quick glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. Then, a little bit of a background on the CENTCOM CHIPS and after that the general details of the CENTCOM CHIPS opportunity and its scope of work. Next will come a discussion of the proposal structure and volume and what the requirements are. Then Ab will discuss the source selection process. We will also touch on the subject of partnering as it is an important issue in the CHIPS opportunity. Finally, before going into the Q&A, Ab will provide his recommendations towards preparing a winning proposal. If I want to summarize the message that we want to convey in this webinar, it is that you should firstly focus on your selection of the most qualified projects as past performance. Because past performance is the key selection factor. And secondly, ensure that you use expert writing skills for your proposal. Ab will explain why. So, with that, I will now hand over the control to Ab to first give a short glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. Ab, you can take over now.
Hello everyone, and thank you, Cal. So as Cal mentioned, please download the presentation slides as we might be covering a lot of material and I have to go quickly over some of them. I will not go into the details of everything that you will see on the slides, so you can always refer back to those. So let's start with a very short and quick glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. We've had over 15 years of solid performance helping government contractors win contracts from the federal government specifically. These numbers are for 2023 mostly. At the end of this year we'll finalize the 2024 numbers. So we had 226 wins in 2023 with $11.9 billion of contracts that we helped our clients win from the government, and we have an overall 3-year average of 81% win rate. I will not go into the details of these. You can always come back and refer to these later. So this is a list of some of the agencies that we've won for our clients. And essentially we have 4 different divisions in GDI Consulting. We have the proposal development division, which provides eligibility and score assessment, full proposal development. We do color gate reviews and we provide staff augmentation to our clients. Our second division, capture management division, provides long range dedicated capture management services plus short-term, as we call it, sourcing and qualification capture services, including, for example, services towards OASIS and OASIS Plus or the current SOUP 5 and other contract vehicles. The third division is our support division, mostly used by larger businesses. We provide competitive intel, black hat exercises, and price to win. And lastly, the fourth division, training division, provides both proposal development and capture management. These are essentially customized trainings. So that was a quick intro to our company. As far as CHIPS is concerned, we provide free consultation, eligibility, and qualification assessment. But the 2 main services we provide is full proposal development and then review services for those companies who are doing it in-house. If you want us to take full control and full responsibility for the proposal, we put a dedicated team to provide the proposal for you, cradle to grave with full and multiple reviews. So those are the services for CHIPS, and let's go into the details. Now, a very short background on US CENTCOM CHIPS. So essentially, the CENTCOM has actually multiple contracts to be able to respond to its requirements. So the goal for this CHIPS opportunity is to actually get and acquire the needed expertise in different disciplines, and we will see what they are, from in one unified vehicle. So that's the purpose behind CHIPS. Instead of multiple contracts, just one vehicle. And essentially there are 5 major goals and benefits that CENTCOM is getting out of this: comprehensive support for operations, specialized expertise that they can get out of this, operational efficiency and effectiveness, enhancing mission support, and streamlining operations. So these are essentially the goals and benefits of CHIPS as far as CENTCOM is concerned. Now let's go into the details or general details of the current CENTCOM CHIPS. So it's by the DoD, CENTCOM Central Command, U.S. Central Command. It's a multiple award IDIQ. Initially, it was agency specific only for CENTCOM. Now they've changed it in the final RFP. It has multiple agencies involved, essentially those from MacDill Air Force Base, and I will list them later on in the next slides. Estimated value is $750 million. They've said that they're going to award 20 task orders over the life of this contract. So 20 task orders. Considering that the number of awards is 20, so on the average, each company will get one, but obviously that never happens. Sometimes, some companies get more and some companies never get anything on a vehicle, but that's the numbers. Period of performance, 1 year base and 4 1-year options, plus a 6-month option for extension. So overall, 5 years and 6 months. Type of work is administrative, logistics, and management. Set aside, it's only for SDVOSB and SBA approved 8As. So it's set aside for them only. If you're not an SDVOSB or an 8A company, you cannot participate in CHIPS. Number of awards, 20, 10 SDVOSB companies and 10 8A companies. The NAICS code 541611. But don't mix this with the NAICS code as far as the scope of work is concerned. This is just a NAICS code for the contract. Full RFP issue date. So it was issued, the full RFP, on December 10th, a few days ago, 2024, and submission is January 9th so far, unless they extend it. Estimated date for award is 3rd quarter of 2025. So moving forward, here's the scope for CHIPS. So, and you'll see that, it covers a lot of different areas or industries: program management services, management and program analysis services, assessment, monitoring, and evaluation services, information technology services, that's a vast area itself, data science services, logistics management services, so logistics, operational control support services, vendor threat mitigation services, acquisition management services, financial management services, language services, scientific services, public affairs services, and finally intelligence services. 14 different scope areas. You can see it's a very, very wide range of requirements. It doesn't mean that you're supposed to provide all of that, but it does tell you the types of task orders that they will be putting on the table. And place of performance. So it's a US CENTCOM contract. So the headquarters for US CENTCOM is MacDill Air Force Base in Florida, but it covers both CONUS and OCONUS locations. And you know, U.S. Central Command, you can see on this map, covers the Middle East AOR, where all the problems are right now. So that's where the area of operation for U.S. CENTCOM is. Some of the projects might be in those bases that the U.S. government has in the Middle East, but a lot of it will be in the headquarters in Florida. Now, I did mention that other agencies will be using it. So U.S. SOCOM, the U.S. Special Operations Command, SOCENT, Special Operations Command Central, JCSC, the Joint Communication Support Element, and finally 6th Air Refueling Wing. These are all in Air Force, in MacDill Air Force Base. If there are other units there, they can also use this contract. So all of these agencies or units can be using this contract. Now, there are some security requirements that are special. Specifically, your company must have top secret FCL to be able to perform the task orders. It doesn't mean that you have to have it now, at least, but they've said that you need a top secret facility clearance to actually perform projects. Now, your personnel, most of the personnel will need a TS-SCI clearance or at least a security clearance. So personnel must have a secret security clearance. And you can get that. I mean, that's not a problem. Usually there is a problem with the FCL itself, but that too, you have to have that before you start performing on task orders. Okay, so those were the general details. Now let's dive into the proposal structure. So essentially, we are not at the capture stage now. We are at the proposal writing stage because the RFP is out. So we need to concentrate here on our submission. So there are 4 different volumes. And for your information, they have changed considerably the structure of the proposal from the draft to the full RFP. So if you're familiar with the draft, make sure that you don't get things mixed up. This is completely different. They've changed a lot of things. So there are 4 volumes. The contracting information, 12 tabs. I'll go into details of that. Second volume is technical. Third volume is past performance. And technical has 2 sub-factors, staffing approach and management approach. Then we have past performance, in which we have to provide 3 contracts, up to 3 contracts. We have to provide PPQs, and we have to provide CPARs. That's not an or, it should be an and. So both PPQs and CPARs are required. And I'll explain why. And then finally, 4th volume is price. Okay, so these are the 4 volumes, and I'm going to the details and the requirements for each of these now. So the first volume, or the contract volume, has 10 tabs. We have the proposal cover sheet, the master table of content. Tab 3 is volume 1 table of content. And then we go into the proposal validity, tab 4, IDIQ signed statement, the standard form SF 1449, company information, your company information, OCI disclosure, and then subcontractor teaming partner consent letters in case you are using subcontractors, and finally continuation of essential contractor service, which there's a statement there that you have to provide that. So these are all one-pagers, and they're essentially administrative documents that you provide. So I will not go into the details of these. Now let's go into the second volume, which is important. Now the second volume, technical, it has essentially 2 sub-factors. So tab 1 is volume 2, table of contents. But then you have tab 2, which is the sub-factor 1.1, staffing approach, and tab 3, which is sub-factor 1.2, management approach. For staffing approach, you have 2 subcategories, sub areas. Staffing and retention plan, you have 3 pages for that maximum. to write towards that. And then tab 2.2, attachment 2, the staffing matrix. Attachment 2 comes with the RFP, so you have to fill that up. It's a form. So one page there, or one form there, and then 3 pages for your staffing and retention plan. As far as the management approach is concerned, you have 2 sub areas: the quality control plan. You have 3 pages for that, and then the seed project task order transition plan, and 3 pages there. And now the seed project, there's a statement of work that comes for that, and then there is a you need to read that statement of work, the SAO, based on that seed project, and then provide the task order transition plan. You have 3 pages to do that. The quality control plan is general for the IDIQ itself. So some notes here, some qualifications and points that you should emphasize on the technical volume: sound contract and task order management capabilities and experience, qualification of the personnel with strong technical expertise based on the PWS scope, sound staffing and management approaches showing increased potential for success, and unique competencies. So these are the areas that you should concentrate on when writing. The staffing and retention plan is general, so it's towards the IDIQ itself and the PWS of the IDIQ, and should cover your recruitment, hiring, and retention approach towards the vehicle, and should be tied to the PWS, which is the attachment 2. Now the staffing matrix, or on the other hand, the second one, is towards the seed project and should be based on the PWS on attachment 3. So staffing and retention plan, you use the PWS for attachment 2 in attachment 2. For the staffing matrix, should be specific to the seed project, and the PWS for that is attachment 3. For the management approach, the QCP, the quality control plan, must be based on the IDIQ's PWS, but again, the seed task order transition plan should be based on the seed project PWS, which is attachment 3. Ensure that you make the government confident that you can take on multiple simultaneous task orders with varying complexities and manage them smoothly and efficiently. Cite relevant experience and that sort of thing to ensure that. Okay, let's move forward. So the third volume is past performance. It has 2 tabs. Tab 1 is obviously the table of content, but it's essentially based on CHIPS. They call it CHIPS Project Performance History. You're supposed to provide 3 contracts, 1 page per contract. I'll go into the detail of that on the next slide. And then the price volume, again, there's 1 document, attachment 5. It has 2 tabs. Tab 1 is seed project pricing spreadsheet, and tab 2 is seed employee compensation plan. You're supposed to provide a compensation plan for that. Okay, moving forward. So, and I forgot to mention, let's go back. They have mentioned that you're supposed to provide 2 copies. We don't know why, how, because this is essentially a electronic submission. So 2 copies doesn't make sense that much. We'll have to see what they mean by that. Probably in the question and answer, they will mention that. So moving forward, past performance volume requirements. So overall, you're supposed to provide 3 past performed projects. Past performance is gauged by 3 factors: quality of the products, that means how well you performed actually your projects, and you provide a PPQ, past performance questionnaire. You send it to the contracting officers. That's attachment 9, and they're supposed to submit it directly to the government, not back to you, directly to the government. But at the same time, you're supposed to provide CPARs too. The CPARs go with your submission, but the PPQs are sent to the COs, to your contracting officers. They must submit them directly to the government. So that shows how well you performed on those 3 contracts. Then you have the recency. For recency, it means that these 3 contracts must have been completed within the past 5 years, meaning after 10th of December 2019, or they can be ongoing. So either they're ongoing or they've been completed after 10th of December 2019. So that, if that's the case, you're good on recency. Now, in terms of relevancy, essentially you must provide similar services capturing the following functions: management support, which is operations, program, and policy; planning support, operational, joint, and exercise; analysis support, management, program, plans, operations, and mission; strategy support, plans, orders, and communication; integration support, operations, plans, and concepts. So your contracts should be covering these, the 3 contracts that you provide. Now, as far as the type of contracts that you can provide, they can be commercial or federal. That's fine, but at least one of the 3 must be federal. So make sure that at least one of your contracts is federal. You have 1-page write-ups per contract. So it's very hard. It's much easier to write 10 pages about a contract rather than 1 page. So you have to be very concise and all-encompassing on that 1 page. Subcontracted projects are allowed, but subcontracts are considered less relevant. So it's better if you were prime on it. But if you don't have it and your projects are subcontracts, they are acceptable, but they are considered less relevant. And remember, as I said, you must provide CPARs. They don't count against the page counts, so it doesn't matter how many pages they are for the 3 contracts, plus the PPQs that are sent to the contracting officers. As far as the price volume is concerned, you must populate the worksheet on attachment 5, the first tab, seed project pricing sheet, tab 1. It has 11 LCATs, 11 positions, and they need to be priced for the base year and 4 option years and the 6-month extension. So a lot of numbers that you have to put in. You must also provide pricing for surge situations per those 11 LCATs, plus 3 more LCATs. There is a cyber operations, there is an air targeteer, and there is a MILDEC LCAT in addition for search situations. And then there are 4 FFP cost positions. So all of these are in that tab 1, attachment 5, and ensure that you provide pricing for all of them. You can't say, hey, I don't have that. You need to provide pricing for all of them. Tab 2 is an employee compensation plan, and you have to fill that up. So don't forget that. You're supposed to provide employee salaries and fringe benefits per LCAT, per base year, and so on. Your pricing will be checked for completeness, reasonableness, and balance. These are the 3 things that they will check. And the government's estimate for the seed project is $2.2 million. You need to make sure that you are below that, otherwise they will put you aside. Make sure that the values that add up at the end of the day for that base year, obviously, is below that, and then build up for the other years. And don't forget to fill out the second tab on attachment 5, which is the compensation plan. And there's a write-up there on that second tab. You have to fill that up. So that's the price volume requirements. Okay, the source selection process. So the source selection, there are 3 factors, as I mentioned. Factor 1 is technical, which is volume 1. Factor 2 is past performance, and factor 3 is price. So these are the 3 factors. Now, in terms of weights and how they work out, factor 1 is acceptable or unacceptable. So it's a pass-fail, essentially, as far as the technical volume. They're not going to compare yours with others or anything like that. Either you pass or you fail. Either it's acceptable or unacceptable. And then the two other factors, which is past performance and price, past performance is significantly more important than price. Okay, so the other way of thinking of it is price is the least important out of these. But we will see that is not the case, even though they say it. So you have to get past that factor one, because it's a pass fail. If you fail that, they're not going to look at your past performance. They're not going to look at your price. So make sure that you actually, pass that technical part. And then after that, past performance is significantly more important than price. But there is a catch to that, and that is shown here. Okay, so this is the source selection process that they're going to go through. So what they will do initially is that they will rank companies by price. So the lowest price, they will say, for example, they're going to pick 20 companies overall. So they will rank companies, the proposals, based on the prices and pick the top 10 or the lowest 10, I should say. Then they start the technical acceptability on those only, on those 20 that they have picked. They check for technical acceptability. If they fail, then they pick the 21st. If one of those fails the technical acceptability, they pick the 21st. Otherwise, they continue on them. So after they check the technical acceptability, that is volume 1, so in terms of technical, they get a pass or fail. Assuming that they pass, then they look at the past performance, and they want to see a confidence assessment of that. If they get a high confidence assessment for all those 20, that's it. They're going to award, and that's it. They're not even going to look at the rest of the proposals. So that's why price is really important. I know that at some point when they pick the 20, some of them might, fall out due to not being, passing on the technical acceptability, or some of them might not get high performance confidence. That's correct. In that case, they will pick the next 21st, 22nd, and so on. But you can see that anyways, price is really important because that's how they're going to start the process. So even though they say price is significantly less important, you can see that the process itself, makes sure that price is important. So make sure that your price is good. Don't overlook that part. Let me discuss also partnering, as that might be a question. So you can participate as prime sub or as joint venture. Now, you would do that to obviously use in terms of, because teaming by itself is not important. In this, you saw that nothing is important as far as teaming is concerned for the 3 volumes, unless you're going to use past performance there. Now, if you're going to use a past performance of a subcontractor, you can do it. So you are allowed to use past performance from a subcontractor, but it will be considered less relevant. So you will lose some, points there. It is considered less relevant compared to your own contract. But say, for example, you're good on everything, but you don't have past performance with CENTCOM itself, but you do have a subcontractor that has past performance with CENTCOM with the same, requirements here. So you might want to use it. But do remember, that's the catch. It will be considered less relevant. For JVs, it's fine. It's just advisable to use contracts in past performance that both JV members, or if there are more than 2, all JV members were involved in. That will for sure get you more, relevance compared to contracts that you use, but only one of the JV members was part of it. I'm sure that if you show to the government that both JV members were involved in that contract, it will get more merit. You must provide letters of consent from your subcontractors if you're going to use their contracts. If you're using a JV to bid, the JV must be approved by SBA. Remember that. So for example, an 8A, it must be an SBA approved 8A. And you must provide that certification with your submission. The past performance contract can be in the name of the JV or its members. That's fine. It's acceptable. And or the subs, as I mentioned. So these are some of the partnering considerations. Overall, I do not recommend using a subcontractor if you have the capability to provide your own contracts, because as I said, it would be considered less relevant unless there is a major gap in your own contracts and you do need a subcontractor past performance. Okay, some of the recommendations. So to pass the technical volume, ensure that you cover each and every aspect of the SAO or the PWS as they call it, as well as the sections L and M and the requirements. So sometimes it is well spelled out in section L, and sometimes, for example, in this case, some of the requirements are spelled out in section M. So make sure, and they're not spelled out in section L. So make sure that you read everything correctly and adhere to that in your technical volume. You want to make sure that you pass that. Use of highly qualified staff in your staffing plan is of utmost importance. Previous CENTCOM experience is highly recommended for proposed staff in your staffing plan. So that's a plus. Tie in your and your team's past performance and experience into the SAO and the RFP scope. So you need that tying in. Need to be very strong on the past performance volume. As I mentioned, that's the most critical part. That is probably where the main selection process will differentiate between different companies. You only need one page, or you only have one page to write for each project. This makes it extremely difficult to create concise and all-encompassing one-pagers. It's much easier to write 10 pages about a contract. So spend enough time on refining and fine-tuning your one-pager. You want to make sure that it covers all those relevancy areas that I mentioned, as many of those, in addition to other PWS requirements. If you lack the CENTCOM AOR experience, use qualified partners. That's really important to do that. For price, you must ensure to be on the lowest 10 in your socioeconomic category, as I explained. So because they're going to, sort by price first, rank there, and then start checking the rest of the proposal, you want to be in that top or lowest 10 in terms of price. So they start. You are one of those 10. But don't try to drop your prices to the extent that if you win the IDIQ, you won't have any profit. So you don't make any profit. I mean, make your prices realistic. In preparing your proposal in-house, if you're doing that, make use of a third party for reviewing your proposal. The technical volume has many moving parts, and the past performance write-up needs highly proficient writing skills. So make sure that you covered that. Okay, so those were my final recommendations. Just to remind you again, our company provides both full proposal development as well as reviewing services. And I recommend that you actually make use of that free consultation. All you have to do is write to Maron Freedy, my colleague, and the next slide has the contact info, and we'll set up a call with you. We will jump on a call and answer any questions that you might have on chips. So by all means, use this opportunity. And if you have any technical questions, anything like that, or you have questions about our services, by all means, contact us. So both full proposal development and review services we provide. And these are our contact information, email and phone, and you can contact us through that. Okay, now we've reached the Q&A, and I will try to answer some of the questions. I'm 5 minutes past the hour. I wanted to finish in half an hour, but let's answer a few questions so we can see where we stand. Okay, so before I start, just in case, if you're having any problem with downloading the presentation slide deck, just write your name on the tab on the chat system, on the tab on the right hand side of your window, and say that you need the slide deck, and I will send that by email to you. So let's start with the questions. Leanne asks, can you explain the selection process, and specifically, did I hear correctly that they won't go through all the proposals? That's correct, Leanne. So the way they're going to do it is that they're going to pick the top 10 or say top 20 companies based on the lowest price. So it's like a lowest price technically acceptable, so to say. So they will first pick the top 20 lowest prices, and then they will check the technical acceptability, volume 1 that is. They want to make sure that the companies pass that technical volume that's acceptable. And then if those 20, all of them, have a high confidence rating on past performance, that's it. If they have less than high confidence, then they will check others. But if all of them have high confidence in terms of past performance, and so meaning that they have good past performance, that's it. They will be awarded. They're not going to look at any other, contracts. Say one of them doesn't have a high confidence, it will drop. They will check the 21st one to see if it has high confidence. If the 21st company has high confidence, they're not going to check the 22nd, 23rd, and so on. So that's how they're going to actually do the selection process. That's why I mentioned that you really need to be in those lowest 20 companies in terms of pricing to make sure that, even though you might have the best past performance, best technical, but if your price is way too high and you're saying the 30th or the 40th company, they might never get to read your proposal. So you don't want to face that situation. I hope I've answered your question. Question from Steve about our services. So yes, we provide proposals development services, as I mentioned, and you can send an email to me or to Marone, and we'll set up a call with you. Question from Melanie. Okay, so she's having problem with downloading the slide deck. So as I said, Melanie and everybody else like Melanie who's having a problem with the slide deck, downloading it, just on the chat system, write your name and I will send it to you. Question from Anna. Did you say that we don't need to have an FCL now to bid? Correct, Anna. You do not need a top secret FCL right now, but you need that at the time of when you want to perform task orders. So you really need to get that quickly if you don't have that now. Question from Bob. Bob says, you mentioned that selecting highly qualified personnel is important and assuming with CENTCOM experience. Do we need to provide resumes as well? No, Bob, they've mentioned that. So you don't need to, submit resumes. However, and this is important, you must provide a list of all the people, their expertise, their education, and that sort of thing in your staffing plan. So make sure that that list of the people, expertise, education, that sort of thing, that shows, the quality of the people that you will be having in your team is there in your staffing plan. This is really important. Question from Sean. Usually it is only GSA that asks for compensation plan. Why is the Army now asking for it? It seems that it's a trend because, as you know, FAR 522246, I have this in my mind, evaluation of compensation for professional employees. It says that it is in the government's best interest that professional employees be properly and fairly compensated, so something like that. So they want to see that your compensation plan is within line with the recognized national and regional compensation surveys and studies done. So they want to make sure that that's the case. So don't forget to fill out that second tab on attachment 5, plus the write-up. There's a write-up that you need to actually provide for your compensation plan. Okay, some more sales related questions. I will skip these. Sandra, why did you recommend that we do not use subcontractors? Okay, because if you use subcontractors, their past performance, I'm assuming that you mean for the past performance volume, you can always refer your subcontractors, if you have them, to in your technical volume. That's fine. But as far as, you know, having a subcontractor for past performance, you can use it, but it will be considered less relevant compared to a past performance that comes from you. So compared with your competitors, if they're, you know, using past performance but it's theirs, it will be considered more relevant, whereas yours might be from a subcontractor. But maybe you don't have some very specific past performance that is needed, and the only way you can do that is by bringing in a subcontractor. By all means do that, but I just wanted you to understand that you lose a few merits points because that's from a subcontractor and not you. Okay, question from Martha. Should the past performance cover all the 14 scope areas or as many as we can? Okay, so as I mentioned, past performance is rated by relevancy, recency, and how well you perform. Obviously, recency, how well you perform, is not your question. So we'll focus on that relevancy. Now, I read from the RFP. Let me find the place. Okay, so it reads like this. To be considered for the individual relevancy rating, each contract submitted, meaning the past performances, must be similar to the services provided under the CHIPS IDIQ PWS. Specifically, and this is important, specifically, the contracts submitted shall provide same or similar services capturing the functions described below: management support, planning support, analysis support, strategy support, integration support, and that's it. Those are the 5. So the more you can cover in each contract, obviously the better. But they understand that you can't have necessarily a contract that has all 5. So my recommendation to you is that you make sure that the 3 contracts that you provide cumulatively cover all 5. So make sure that the 3 contracts together do cover the 5, but maybe, you know, one of them covers 3, one of them covers 2, one of them covers another 4, another 2, whatever. And this is why that write-up is important. You need to actually, you know, emphasize, bolden, and show that you are covering in that one pager for each contract. You're covering, you know, number 1, number 2, or number 3, management support, planning support, and analysis support, something like that. So that write-up is really important, as I mentioned. But this is my recommendation. Obviously, they understand that every contract cannot have all of these 5, but the more, the better. So try to pick the 3 contracts that with which you can actually cover all 5 of them. Okay, so a lot of sales related questions, and we are 15 minutes past. So let me stop here. There are a few more questions. I think, I apologize, I've gone over the time, but I will try to answer your questions by email. I thank you everyone for participating in the webinar. We look forward to seeing you in our future webinars. As I mentioned, since this is a post RFP webinar, if you need any support as far as review or proposal writing, please let us know and we will be happy to help you. Thank you again, and see you in our future webinars.